Hello and welcome to another Verbling class. Tonight's topic is on geography, U.S. geography. Hi Abel.
Hello, teacher. How are you doing?
I'm not doing too badly. I had today off work.
Oh, that's great.
It's a holiday today.
Ah, yeah? Because why?
It's called Labor Day.
Ah, okay. Yeah. It's the same in the States, right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we all get today off, so that's always a good way to start the week. So kind of looking forward to that. Or I look forward to that, but I taught 3 classes today.
Ah, it's a pretty good job.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. How was your weekend?
Oh, nice. Really nice. I went out with my wife. We went to the movies. Take some time together. Enjoying our company. We shared some barbecue at her father's house.
Nice.
Yeah, yeah. Um, yes, a lot of quiet and enjoyable things.
Yeah, it sounds like a very enjoyable thing. Now, what movie did you see?
Oh, I'm from Argentina. It's a national movie, an Argentinian movie called uh, Wild Relates or Relatos Salvajes. Maybe Wild Stories is the
Hmm.
translation, right translation. It's a compendium of different short stories that were really bizarre stories. For example, the first of them was occurring in a plane
Hmm.
when a girl and a guy began to talking about, and the the guy was a musician critic,
Hmm.
and the girl told him about her first boyfriend that was a
Hmm.
musician, and the 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 boyfriend was named Gabriel Pasternak, and other person talk. Ah, I know Gabriel Pasternak, and another one. Oh yes, Gabriel Pasternak was a classmate of mine. And so the first guy stand up and ask to all of the flight, who else know Gabriel Pasternak, and all of them know him, and the situation was that each of them had a bad relationship with Gabriel, and Gabriel was on the plane, entered on the cockpit, killed the pilot and co-pilot, and the whole flight got down.
Oh, crashed.
He crashed. Yes, crashed.
Well, that's no fun. That's
Yeah,
terrible.
yeah, it's terrible. And three or more stories like that. Very, very sarcastic and very. Uh, but in the middle, you got laugh all the time. You laughed all the time because were very bizarre situations.
Wow.
Yeah.
That sounds exciting. It really does.
Yeah.
Um, I love watching movies. I really, really do. But I just saw Raphael come into the class. Let's say a big hello to Raphael.
Hello, Simon.
Hello, Raphael. How are you on this stormy Monday?
Stormy Monday. Is it stormy there in Canada?
It's stormy here today.
Oh my God.
I know it's scary out there, just scary.
It's complicated.
Well, I hope the power doesn't go out because I'm making a movie upstairs and I need it to finish rendering.
Really movie.
Yeah, a little movie with a little guy. So I don't think it'll be done. I can't show you right now because it's upstairs and I'd have to leave my office here. But how was your weekend, Raphael? Did you have a relaxing weekend?
In a certain way, yes. I went to a party a long time. I haven't been in a party for a long time ago.
Hmm.
Uh, I met some friends. I haven't seen them for a while, and I took a little rest as always.
Excellent.
And what else? I slept a little bit, and of course I had studied because I prepared for some certification exams. They
Hmm.
will take place next week. So, and here I am.
Well, sir,
This
congratulate, or I wish you well. I'm glad you had a relaxing weekend somewhat because you have very, very busy weeks and you deserve a break.
oh, thanks. I've deserved. I was really tired.
I know, I know. Well, in today's class, we're going to talk about the United States. Now, was it a request of yours that we studied the US?
Mm,
No, somebody wanted to do us to study the US. So, the United States, it's a country, we all know that. Its formal name is the United States of America, but most of us in the US, Canada, and the Western world refer to it simply as the US. Okay. It goes by many other names too. The states, as a sort of a familiar term, you would never write formally. In formal writing, you could just say US or United States. Nobody uses the United States of America or even USA much anymore. It's usually just US. Unless, of course, you're mailing something, then yes, USA is usually what people put down. But even myself, I don't even bother to put the country down. If I mail into the United States, as long as you've got the state and zip code, you're usually okay. Before I get into the details, what can you guys tell me about the United States? Raphael, what do you know about the US?
well, there are a lot of ap- there are a lot of aspects about the United States. Mainly the culture. Our culture is strongly influenced by U.S. culture because we have lots of movies and music artists. They have a great influence in our youth, in our since our childhood. We are already uh, we've seen lots of U.S. movies.
Mm-hmm.
And what else? Well, they are very they have a great sense of patriotism. We don't have here, and and as we have seen on TV for a long time, they are very linked to war. Linked to conflicts because they want to share. They want to make their they want to broaden their influence throughout the world, and some nations doesn't accept that. It's is the king of capitalism, I think.
Okay, good. Thank you. David, what do you think about when you think of the US? Let's talk a bit more about geography. What comes to mind when you think of the United States?
Hello, about geography, right?
Sorry, I can barely hear you.
It's about talking about geography, Simon, right?
Geography, yes.
Okay. When I think in the States, I think that all the words in North America or Americans, and I, yeah, it's the first thing that comes to my mind. And Yeah, because because States is the most important country in of the continent, and of the people are always worry about what happens in North America.
This is true. It is certainly carries a lot of weight in the world. It's an important country. Ava,
Yeah.
what can you tell us about the United States?
Oh, it's a white country with a lot of weathers, with a lot of geography or kind of geography. For example, you have some places with a lot of water, the Great Lakes at the northeast, and you have some arid or dry areas like Arizona. You have broad coast in the east and in the west. Uh, you have several kind of weathers because of the geography and the expansion of the country.
Yeah, so it is a large country. The United States is one of the largest countries in the world. It's not the largest, and it's not the second largest. Does anybody know how big the U.S. actually is?
Not really.
No?
How big? How many
No.
kilometers? No?
No, I'm talking about it's one of the largest in the world. In terms of ranking, where is it?
10, the top 10.
It doesn't depend. This is a very quantitative answer here. It doesn't depend. In terms of landmass, how big is the U.S. in relation to the other countries? Okay, which countries are bigger than the United States?
Russia, China,
Russia. I heard Russia. Who else?
China,
China. Is China bigger than the U.S.?
maybe.
I think it is.
Brazil?
No, Brazil is the
No,
fifth largest
Brazil,
country.
no.
Okay.
Canada.
Yeah, Canada is the second largest country.
Uh-huh.
I believe it's the fourth largest, so China would be third, if I remember correctly. But let me make sure of that. I don't want to give you guys false information.
Russia.
No, Russia is the largest country. Okay, so let me just find the page here. United States, because I used to know this, and for some reason now, when you said China, it just threw me off, and I can't remember. So, yeah, I know the largest city, got all that. Not enough population. Oh, they're going to make me look for it. Okay, I'm going to do a search here. If I had my iPad here, I could ask Siri. What? Actually, hold on. I'm going to try this out, guys. I'm going to go get my iPad. Just a minute. I remember it being the fourth, but sometimes you just start forgetting things as you get older. Wow, look at everybody who just came in the class. So let's ask Siri. Siri, what is the fourth largest country in the world? She says coming right up. The largest countries in the world. Oh my God, Siri's useless tonight. No, I think it's the fourth largest country in the world. So the U.S. is a large country. In fact, the United States, China, and Canada are all very similar in size. Okay, they're not. Neither one is much larger than the other. They're very similar in size. Russia, though, is much larger than all of them. So Russia's a huge country. And the former Soviet Union, well, it was much bigger back then because it was consisting of more countries. Okay, I want to say welcome to Milton, Ivan, Irving, and Keiko for joining me.
Hello, teacher.
Hello, we're talking about U.S. geography. So the U.S. is one of the largest countries in the world in terms of geography. Now, when we talk about geography, we often talk about population. Does anybody know how many people the United States has approximately, down to the nearest million?
300 million.
300 million, okay. Do we have a more current number?
250 million.
250 million. Sir, you're talking about the population of Brazil, I think. Okay. Anybody else? So I hear 250. I hear 300. Raphael, how big do you think the U.S. is?
I believe it's 300.
300? Who thinks it's 300? Raise your hand. Okay, David, how big do you think the U.S. is?
I said
300.
I know, so it's actually 319 million. It's too many M's. That's estimated in the 2014 census, so they keep adding more people. Okay. Somebody else mentioned the Great Lakes. Okay, these are easily noticed on a world map. They're quite large. In fact, the lakes put together are larger than many countries. And Lake Superior is also by itself almost large enough to be an inland sea. It's as deep as 1,300 feet. It's quite deep. It's over 400 meters. It's very, very stormy in terms of waves. Waves can get as high as 100 feet, although those are pretty rare. But 30-foot waves are pretty common, and it gets to be a very dangerous lake in November. So, do the Great Lakes belong to the United States? Keiko, do the Great Lakes belong to the United States?
I don't know the name of them, the names of them, teacher.
I didn't ask
I
you the
have
name.
already heard about South Lake City, that I think is near a lake.
No, that's a. We don't even. Doesn't even show up on a map. Who can tell me what country also shares the Great Lakes with the United States?
Canada.
Yeah. One lake is completely owned by the U.S., Lake Michigan. The remaining four are split in half. That's Lake Superior, Lake Huron, Lake Erie, and Lake Ontario. And they connect to the Atlantic Ocean through the St. Lawrence River. So North America is surrounded by 3 oceans. 2 of the largest in the world being the Atlantic and the Pacific. And who can tell me the name of the ocean in the north?
The Arctic.
Yeah, the Arctic Ocean. So, geographically, what type of climates is the U.S. known for? How many of you think of the U.S. to be a very hot and humid country? Raphael, do you think the U.S. as being a hot and humid country?
Hot and humid?
Yeah.
I think so, but the U.S. is a huge country, and there are several different climates in different regions. I believe that the north it's more cold. It's colder than the south. Maybe the south states, which are closer to the equator, they can be they can have a more humid and hot weather, as you mentioned.
Hmm. Well, the southern United States, or the southern states, I should say, um, yeah, they do get very hot and humid. In fact, temperatures exceeding 40 degrees Celsius are quite common in the summer, especially in the south. And the south is known to be very humid. For those of you from northern Brazil, same sort of climate. But the US is also known to have some of the coldest climates. Alaska sits north than much of Canada and is part of the very far northern western part of the United States, or North America. Very, very cold. Very cold. Summers are very short. They're not very hot. You also have alpine climates. The US has several mountain chains, the tallest being the Rocky Mountains. And there's several mountain chains within the Rocky Mountain area running right from Canada down towards Mexico. These are what you know, or are known as White Mountains. White Mountains are called because at the top it's so cold, snow is on the peaks all year round. Does anybody know the Eastern mountain chain?
The Rocky Mountains.
That's in the west. What's on the east side?
Ah, okay. No, I don't know.
The Appalachian mountain chain.
Hmm.
Now, who can tell me the largest river in the world? What's the name of the largest river in the world?
The Nilo.
Okay. Where is this river located?
In Egypt.
Egypt? Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, the Nile, right? So, is it really the largest river in the world?
Length.
What about the Amazon?
Amazonia.
Yeah, the Amazon. Now, when it comes to the largest river in the world, we could be talking about actual length. We could be talking about the length of it and its tributaries. Or we could be talking about the flow of water, the amount of water flowing out. So I think it's pretty easy to say that the Amazon River probably has the largest flow of water in the world, or it's right up near the top. In the United States, there's a river basin with a lot of water flow. This actually drains two countries. What's the name of this river basin?
Mississippi.
Yeah, the Mississippi. Welcome, Soso.
Thanks.
Okay, so we have the Mississippi, which is in what we would call, well, it's kind of hard to say. It's in the Midwest. It goes up into Canada. It covers a lot of states, but it ends up dumping into the Gulf of Mexico. Okay, so the headwaters are in the Gulf of Mexico. Not headwaters, sorry. The headwaters near the top. It drains. Okay, it drains into the Gulf of Mexico. So we have the Rocky Mountains, the Appalachian Mountains. Now, around the Rockies, we have some other smaller chains. It's really kind of part of that same group, but you have the Sierra Nevadas, or the Cascade Mountains. They run along the Pacific coast. Does anybody know the tallest mountain in North America? It's in the United States. It's also the tallest mountain in North America.
Achille.
Very good, sir. Do you know how tall it is?
I don't remember.
6.2 kilometers tall.
Whoa.
Yeah, it's up there.
Similar to the Aconcagua here in Argentina.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. Now let's go back to geography. The United States is a large country, has many climates. As one of you mentioned at the beginning of class, it has a very dry or arid climate. Okay, Arizona, for example. Yeah, and Keiko, these are deserts. Yep. Death Valley. I wouldn't say it's one of the worst deserts in the world. We all know that that one's in South America, where it hasn't rained in over 30 years. But Death Valley gets very hot and very dry. Not the kind of place you want to be in during summer. They have grasslands or savannas. We have green Appalachian Mountains, and we have the tall mountains of the Rockies on the west, which causes lots and lots of rain on the ocean side. And as you cross over the mountains into Nevada, that's what creates the very dry and arid areas. And then, of course, we have the grasslands of Utah and Wyoming. The Arctic conditions of Alaska. And the subtropical areas of Florida, Texas. It's a huge country. What kind of government does the United States have, guys? A lot of people tend to get this wrong, but what kind of government does the United States have?
It's a republic.
Very good, yeah. It's to be more precise, it's a federal presidential constitutional republic.
Yeah.
Okay. Who is the leader of the country?
Barack Obama.
Who's the president, right?
Yeah.
Is he the most powerful person in the United States?
It seems so.
It seems so, yeah.
But it has some boundaries or limits because of the Congress and the Supreme Court.
The judiciary, so we have the three branches of government. The executive, which is the president, right? So the executive. We have the judiciary, which is the court systems. So the Supreme Court is the highest court in the U.S., which can overturn government laws, right? So the courts can say to the president, sorry, buddy, not going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, we have the legislature or Congress, where the Speaker of the House is considered to be very powerful. But we all kind of think of the president as being the one who pretty well runs the country. Well, this is not exactly true. Anybody who watches the news quite a bit about the U.S. sees how very little power the president actually has. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So in terms of total area, we talked about the U.S. being the third or fourth largest country in the world, recognized as fourth, but there is some argument as to whether it's third or not. Okay, so there's a footnote to this. When I went to school, it was considered the fourth. Well, let me see if I can find out why. So there are three measurements in terms of area. There's the total area, which is the sum of land and water surfaces, or there's just land area, or we could do land and water. Now, depending on how you kind of add up all of these, some have said that the U.S. is the third largest country in the world. Okay? I generally go by land, as most people do, because land is something you see. Right, so what else do we know about the U.S. in terms of geography? Well, we talked a little bit about rainfall. In the west, the U.S. gets a lot of rainfall due to the mountains. It also gets a lot of rain in the Midwestern states, down into the Gulf of Mexico, especially in the summer. It gets very hot. There's a lot of thunderstorms. But there's two types of storm systems that people always hear about in the news. What does the U.S. get a lot of between May and October? These are not very fun. If you've ever lived through one of these, you would hate it. They're terrible, terrifying events.
Blizzards.
Hurricanes.
Blizzards, hurricanes. I heard blizzards and hurricanes. Did anybody else say anything?
Tornadoes.
Tornadoes. Okay, you've got the trifecta. Okay, I have lived through a blizzard. No big deal. Generally, blizzards, your sustained temperature during a blizzard is minus 10 or below. Winds of 20 kilometers an hour sustained, and visibility no better than about 10 feet. or 3 meters. If you're indoors, they're no big deal. If you're dressed warm, it's not that bad. You can deal with the cold, you can deal with the wind, and visibility, well, if you're smart, you can deal with that too. However, tornadoes. I'm smiling, but there's nothing to smile about. These things are terrifying. They're very small. They can be no more than maybe a couple of feet in diameter to tens of feet in diameter, or even more than, almost 100 feet in diameter. Winds almost, I think as high as 300 kilometers an hour. And if they go over your house, they're going to pick it up, tear it to pieces, and flip it. They'll flip cars. Livestock like cows can be sent into the air. They're terrifying. If one comes your way, they make horrible, horrible, shrill sounds. And your only safe bet is either a basement, a bomb shelter, or a door frame within a building. But they don't usually last very long. They usually go by within a matter of minutes. And there's a place in the US called Tornado Alley. Due to the landscape, these tornadoes can start down in Texas and go all the way up into Illinois. We even get a few here in Canada, but no more than maybe 1 or 2 a year, or none at all. But the US gets anywhere as many as 200 in a year in this area. The hurricane. Well, we're all familiar with these. Those of us who live in North America know what hurricanes are. In Asia, we generally call these typhoons. They can be over 1,000 kilometers in diameter. They have winds that are very, very fast, can reach up to, I think, 200 miles an hour, or about 300 kilometers. They start off as tropical depressions or tropical storms. And they're characterized by extremely low pressure, so low that they raise up the sea level beneath them, which usually causes flooding when they reach land. Some would say these are more terrifying than tornadoes because they can last for hours and days, depending on what part of the tornado you are under. In the middle of the tornado, they have this odd characteristic. Can anybody tell me what happens in the middle of a hurricane?
An eye.
Yeah, but what is it about the eye of a hurricane that is bizarre?
A cyclone.
It's calm.
Well, no. What is it about the eye? What are characteristics of the eye of a hurricane?
It's calm. There's no storm inside.
Exactly. The eye of a hurricane is characterized by no winds. The air is still. In fact, if you experience the eye of a hurricane, it's very peaceful. And you tend to think that, wow, okay, the storm is over. But if you're fortunate enough to experience the eye of a hurricane, know that you may only have an hour or so or less, because the hurricane is only half over. See if I can give you guys a picture of the eye of a hurricane. Let's see here. Okay, there's one picture. That's kind of a strange one. Oh, here we go. This is perfect. All right, bear with me, guys. It's where? Oh, there it is. Now, I'm going to shut up talking soon. We're going to get you guys to do more of the talking. But I can't talk about geography without giving you a lot of information first. But here's a picture of the eye of a hurricane. This is the wall. Okay, so this is the wall of the hurricane. You can see the sun here. It's very, very relaxing, or not relaxing, that's the wrong word. It's very, very tranquil in the eye of a hurricane, like a beautiful warm summer day. But they're very, very violent. All right, so let's just open up a conversation now. We've got about 25 minutes left, and I want you guys to be able to talk and tell me what you know about the United States and its geography, what you found interesting, if anything, about what I've told you. And of course, if you have any travel plans or desires to travel into the US, what is it that you want to see? Is it a city? Is it geography? Is it natural wonders? Let's start with So-So. So-So.
Well, before I look into it, I thought that there was no desert in the USA, only in Arabic countries. But I was surprised to see Las Vegas. There are a lot of desert out there.
Yeah.
And if I had the chance, I will go and see New York.
The largest city in the United States.
Yes.
Why New York?
Maybe because of the movies. You know,
Okay.
the movie Sleepless in Seattle? Something?
Oh, so it wouldn't be for Armageddon then?
No.
Really?
Yes, I'm
That's
sure.
why I'd want to go there. What about the Apple Store? Sorry, that was a bad joke related to architecture. Okay, what else about the US would you like to see, or is it just New York?
Just New York.
They have so many tall buildings there.
Yes, and also I want to see the Central Park.
It's huge. It is huge.
Is it like the Hyde Park in London or different?
It's bigger. It's a lot bigger. Let me see if I can give you a picture here to show it to you. New York is massive. It doesn't look so big when you're watching TV shows about it, but New York is absolutely massive. I was there a few years ago, and I want to show you a picture I took, if it'll ever open up. Here we go. Sorry, I've got a lot of photos. It's taken a while. New York, New York. Oh, that's Boston. I love Boston. I think Boston's a beautiful city. Here we go. Here's New York. No, it's still Boston. There we go. All right, so I got lots of photos now. Let's open up some of these. That one. All right, so here we go. A couple of pictures of New York City. Now this one here, if you see right in the middle here, this is Central Park. Now imagine you are right here at the beginning of the frame. To get to here might take you half an hour to an hour of walking. So that whole park there is huge. It would take you hours to walk from one length to the other. All right, and let's see, I got a few more pictures here. Now these are my pictures, so I don't have to worry about the copyright. And there's a little bit of geography involved here. If you take a look at this picture here, where are the tall buildings? They're either right here or at the far end of Manhattan, right? There aren't any tall buildings in the middle. Why is that? Does anybody know why?
Does the airplane goes?
That's a good guess, but no, it's the opposite end. It's not what flies above, it's what's under the ground. Where there are tall buildings, you need rock and lots of it to anchor the buildings. So at either end of the island, you have rock very close to the surface, so they're able to build these tall buildings on top of granite. But in the middle, it's all loose sand or soil, so there's not much of an anchor to build tall buildings. And skyscrapers, you need granite or some other hard rock to build into. And of course, this is my favorite shot that I took of New York City. Just give you the scale of the city here. All buildings, all concrete, very few trees. Massive city. All right, Raphael, it's your turn.
Yes.
Yes. Is there anywhere in the U.S. you would like to visit? And what have you learned in this class about the U.S. that you didn't realize before?
Well, I'd like to visit the West Coast. West Coast, like San Francisco and maybe the all cities in California. Or I'd like to also visit the Canaveral Cape. Cape
Canaveral.
In Florida.
Excuse me. So that's where NASA has one of their launch facilities.
Yes, I'd like to visit there. I don't know.
That would be nice.
There are so many places to visit. I have to think before planning my trip.
I can understand that. I mean, driving the coast of California would be very beautiful.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Ivan, something you learned in this class? And where you'd like to visit, what landmarks you would like to see? Ivan? All right, David, something you learned about the U.S. in this class and places you would like to visit in the U.S.
Hello, I'm sorry. Which place? I think New York.
Okay, New York.
LA, Florida.
Why?
I think that's the places I've been most accustomed with. I have seen several pictures, so I'm getting familiar with the landscape. So I think it's a pretty profound experience to visit those places.
It could certainly be. I've been to some of them, but not all.
Okay.
What about you, K-Cal? Things you learned in this class about the U.S. and landmarks you would like to visit and why?
I would like to visit New York, teacher, because of the cultural life of the city, because of the opportunities to buy good products, reasonable costs.
Oh, I don't know about that. I think New York is very expensive. It's one of the most expensive places in the U.S. If you want to get value, it's not living in New York.
According to some Brazilian friends that have visited there, they say that there is is cheaper than here, even though the products are of higher quality.
Well,
No
I can
doubt.
tell you this. In terms of purchasing dollar value in the United States, New York City is one of the most expensive places in the U.S. An average dollar in the U.S. costs $1.30 worth of purchasing potential. Yet in other states like the southern United States, you can purchase a lot more. It might only cost you 60 cents to buy $1 worth of goods. There are states that don't have sales tax. New York charges 9%. So if I went to New Hampshire and bought a camera lens, I would save at least 10% in taxes alone. So just to let you know, it might be cheaper compared to Brazil, which has high import taxes on electronics. But in terms of the US, no, there are many other places to buy things cheaper. In fact, my wife just bought a lens for our camera. There's this place in New York City that has very good prices because they're a national seller, but I was actually able to buy it for $100 cheaper here in Canada without shipping. So, yeah, you can buy a lot in New York City, but it is one of the more expensive places.
Okay, teacher. Do you live in Canada, teacher?
I sure do.
What's your city?
Toronto. You might have heard of it.
Okay. I have heard about Toronto.
That's the largest city in Canada.
It's cheaper than US?
Well, it's cheaper than New York.
Okay.
But
it's a good news.
Canada costs more than the US because we have higher taxes, because we have more social programs. And a much larger country with fewer people, so that kind of adds up. Abel, what about you? Things that you heard about regarding US geography that interested you or fascinated you in this class, and places you would like to see? Okay, let's go back to Soso. Soso.
Yes.
So I take it you like to take pictures.
Yeah, I do.
What is your favorite lens?
Right now I have, so let's see, 18-55.
Okay, so that's a wide open lens.
Yeah, but there's no focus. You know, I cannot zoom.
So they're what we call micro lenses, macro, or fixed frame.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, is yours a full frame camera?
Yes, full frame.
Oh, okay. So 18-50, then that is actually 18-50. There's no magnification. I shoot with not a full frame camera, so for example, a 50mm professional lens will give me will turn out to be the same as a 80mm for you. Mm-hmm. So while it's not good for portraits for your camera, it's perfect for mine. The reason I bring up photography is there's many places in the US I love. Boston is an incredible city in terms of the cityscape, the parks. It's like a miniature London, the old parts of town, and of course the ocean. It's just a beautiful city. Vermont and New Hampshire have the mountains. There's Mount Washington, which is the tallest Appalachian mountain. It's beautiful. You can drive up it, and you can take some beautiful, beautiful pictures. The Grand Canyon, another wonderful, wonderful place to take photos. So many places in the US. If you are going to be traveling and you want to get a good camera, definitely have a good lens. I would recommend something from a 17 or 18 up to a 50 or even an 85. but there's nothing like a 50 macro. It's a very, very small lens. It's excellent for taking portrait shots if it's not a full frame camera, which most aren't. Full frame cameras are very expensive. But it also takes very, very good videos. It comes close to a 35 millimeter lens. So if your camera takes video, it's an excellent, excellent lens. And consider that when you're traveling, have yourself a good camera. A cell phone camera isn't by itself good enough, although they're getting better. But have yourself ample memory cards, because some of these trips, they're not cheap. They might be once in a lifetime, and it's great to have those memories. Okay, let's go back to geography a little bit. Raphael, how deep is Lake Superior, approximately?
Well, I had to search for information.
You weren't listening?
Sorry, I haven't paid attention. I mentioned
Does anybody remember?
I remember you have told something about 10,000 feet. Is that right?
No, not even close.
Sorry.
You're shot. You're shot down. Okay, so Lake Superior is about 1,300 feet deep. But it's actually 1,332 feet, but it's not the deepest lake in North America or the United States. In fact, in Washington State, there's a lake that's almost 1,500 feet deep. But this is not the deepest in the United States. In Oregon, there's a lake that's almost 2,000 feet deep. Think about that, 2,000 feet. That's over 500 meters deep, half a kilometer deep. But the deepest lake in North America is actually in Northwest Territories, Canada, which is just over 2,000 feet deep. So very, very deep.
And in these lakes, people fish, teacher. There is an exploration of fishing.
Sure, there used to be commercial fishing on these lakes, and in some cases there still are. The Great Lakes were known for their fishing. A lot of American tourists come into Canada to fish in some of the remote lakes where you can only get in from helicopter or plane. So fishing is a huge multi-billion-dollar business in the United States, at least $4 billion a year. It's a very, very big business. All right, let me change topic for a bit here, because I'm going to have to leave class a little bit early because of a private lesson I have coming up. But tomorrow, I want to talk about classes the rest of the week. Tomorrow, I have this seems to be very, very popular. I have a role-play game. It's earlier than this class. And what I'm doing in these classes, I'm picking scenarios that you guys might encounter in life, right? So that I have various scenarios as an employee and a boss, different relationships there. I have relationships or encounters with police or restaurants, many different scenarios, parent-child relationships. And of course, there's always an incident or something that happens. All right? Various banking scenarios, applying for a mortgage, a loan, for example. So we practice these. We're going to do that tomorrow. And then I'm off on Wednesday, but I'm back on Thursday and Friday with more classes. I have a marketing class on Thursday, and with Apple coming out with new products, this should be exciting. It's a very exciting class. And on Friday, I have a class on job interviews. We'll actually practice questions you would get on a job interview in an English-speaking country. And of course, before that, I'll have a public speaking class teaching you guys what to do if you're going to speak in front of public or a large group. I do want to thank each of you for coming out tonight. It's a pleasure to have you guys here in a full class. I hope you learned something. If you want to see more vocabulary classes, please drop me a message on my teacher page and I'll add them to the agenda.
Okay. Thank you, Simon.
Okay. Keiko, I will do that for the next class then.
Thank you,
Okay.
teacher.
You're very welcome. Good night.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.